Hello, we'll be starting in a few minutes. Hello, Sayel. So I think we can get started. We have a number of people online already. So I want to welcome you, and I want to thank, first of all, Radvision Consultants for allowing me to give you this information session today. My name is Veronique Marin, and I am the Director of International Programs at the Lester B. Pearson School Board. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time explaining what great opportunities there are in Montreal and in Quebec, and in particular with the Lester B. Pearson School Board. And then after, I invite you to write some questions in the chat so that I can answer any questions that you may have. So once again, thank you to Radvision for having me here today. So the Lester B. Pearson School Board, what is that? You might wonder why somebody from a school board is speaking to you today. And this is a unique thing about Quebec. So our education system is slightly different in Quebec, where English school boards, as we are at the Lester B. Pearson School Board, public school board, are responsible for giving post-secondary diploma programs, along with elementary school and high school. These post-secondary diploma programs are the same ones that you would find in other provinces in the colleges. But in Quebec, because the education system is set up slightly differently, we are responsible for giving those programs, the post-secondary diploma programs. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important to consider a public institution. In Quebec, as I mentioned, the Lester B. Pearson School Board is one of the largest English public school boards in Quebec, and we deliver these programs in 7 different campuses. Our teachers are all qualified. They must have a university degree in teaching, and our infrastructures are state-of-the-art because we're funded by the Ministry of Education. Furthermore, our diplomas are issued by the Ministry of Education. And so therefore you have a legitimate and very robust diploma, which you'll be able to use in your journey along the way as you come to Canada. I'll get into the specifics of the programs, but all of our programs that are over 900 hours are eligible for postgraduate work permit, and students are able to work off campus with their study permit up to 20 hours a week and 40 hours during the vacation. But let's talk about a little bit first about Montreal. So as I mentioned, the Lester B. Pearson School Board is located in Montreal. Montreal is the second largest city in Canada, and it's located in Quebec. Now, Quebec is, yes, a typically French-speaking province, but when you're located in Montreal, when you come to Montreal, being an international city, you will see that the people speak French and English. So students coming from India or from around the world are very comfortable. It's a very diverse city, and very important, it's actually ranked #1 study destination for international students in North America. This was ranked over a number of years. And the reason for that is because it's a beautiful city. It's very vibrant and it's very young. It's a very young city. There's many universities and colleges here. Students are able to find part-time jobs very easily, as well as rents are very affordable. And for all those reasons, students really enjoy studying and living in Montreal. So for those reasons, I want you to consider, instead of perhaps Toronto or Vancouver, consider perhaps looking at Montreal as well. So let's get into what our programs are about. So as I mentioned, these are post-secondary diploma programs in many fields. We have 26 different programs, and the programs all are practical and hands-on programs. So this is a bit different than the rest of Canada. Other colleges might have more academic type programs. Our programs are hands-on. Students learn the competencies of each program within a lab setting. And each program also includes an internship that allows them to practice their competencies in a real work setting. So the campus or the school will help you find that setting, that internship, and you'll be able to practice what you learned in an actual business. Often, students will actually be hired after from those very same businesses that saw what great education they got and what great employees they might be. So this is very important because if you want to continue to work and you want to be able to go through the process of immigration, having an employer is a very important factor. So as I mentioned, our programs are skills-based, practical hands-on programs, internships included, and students will learn throughout the whole year. So we have 1 and 2 year programs. And something that's unique about our education system is that our program is not semestered. So what does that mean? It means that when a student starts, they go right through till the end of their program. So a 2-year program actually only takes 18 months. And a 1-year program will last about 8 to 9 months. So this is a great feature because it allows a student to quickly get their education and move on to the next part of their journey. So let's talk about those programs more specifically. As I mentioned, we have 1 and 2 year post-secondary programs, all leading to a diploma from the Ministry of Education. Our tuition ranks between $12,000 for 1-year programs and about $22,000 to $24,000 for the 2-year programs. These are just averages. So you can see that our tuition is also very affordable compared to other provinces. So in the 1-year programs, we have programs like professional sales, retail butchery, general building maintenance, as well as accounting. In the 2-year programs, which are, as I mentioned, 1,800 hours or 2 years, we have programs in computing support, residential and commercial drafting, interior decorating and visual display, beauty care specialist, installation and repair of telecommunication equipment, automobile mechanics, as well as culinary arts. So you'll see that we have a wide variety of programs, all of them given at any one of our 7 campuses, and also delivered by qualified university-trained teachers in state-of-the-art campuses. So these programs, as I mentioned, range from about $12,000 to $13,000 for 1-year programs and $23,000 to $24,000 for our 2-year programs. Let's talk a little bit about the program requirements. So students must have their high school diploma once in order to be able to qualify. Also for the IELTS, there needs to be a minimum of 6.0 overall with no less than 5.5 in any one band. Of course, during this time, we're also accepting Duolingo, level 95, or PTE 51 to 58. We're also asking that students have no less than a 2-year gap. And for this is for the reasons in order to better enhance your chances of getting your study permit. This is the kind of profile you should have. Also average no less than between 50 and 55%. Also, another unique aspect of studying in Canada, in Quebec, is that you need to get a CAQ before getting a study permit. So a CAQ is an online application. It's an application to the Quebec Ministry of Immigration, which then allows you to go and get your study permit after. Your consultants at Radvision will be able to help you with that process. It's a very simple process, but it's one that is necessary. The final requirement is that students get a health and hospitalization insurance prior to arriving. So let's recap a little bit. Montreal is a great destination to study. Reasons, because the rents are cheap, because there's a lot of availability of part-time jobs, and students can also have a great nightlife and be amongst a very diverse and a very multicultural environment. In fact, all of our campuses are very diverse. Our students come from all over the world, including those from Canada. So when you study at the Lester B. Pearson School Board, you're not with all of, let's say Indian students all in one campus. Every classroom has a very diverse mix of students. And I think this is really important to consider when you're going to travel so far to come and study in Canada. You want to be exposed to the multicultural aspects that Canada is famous for. So at the Lester B. Pearson School Board, you would see that walking into any one of our classrooms. I also mentioned that all of our programs are eligible for a postgraduate work permit, so up to 3 years. And students are able to work off campus 20 hours a week during their studies and 40 hours during the holidays. I also mentioned that it's important to consider that we don't semester our programs, so students are able to complete a 2-year program in a shorter period of time, roughly 18 months. So there's many benefits to considering Lester B. Pearson School Board. I know that our consultants at Radvision would be happy to share all of that information with you. And, people kind of wonder, why would they consider Quebec as a destination? I mentioned many benefits. It's also very close to Toronto and Ontario. It's a 5 to 6 hour drive straight on highways. And it also gives you an opportunity to make your dollar go further. It's important to consider that it's expensive to come and study abroad. So if you can find a destination that allows you to work where there's cheaper rents, where the tuition is very affordable, your dollar will go much further. So I'm going to see now if there's any questions in the chat. I got some nice comments. Thank you, Sahil. And Prabjot said hi. We'll wait just a few more seconds to see if anybody has any questions. As I mentioned, the IELTS requirement is 6.0 overall, with no less than 5.5 in any band. We also require that students have a CAQ before they come get their study permit. And also to remind you that all of our studies are done in English, even though we are in a French-speaking province. Our school district, which is a public school district, is all in English. Our 7 different campuses are located very close to the downtown core, and students can benefit from public transportation, which is very well developed here. Okay, Manish is asking if we have any law courses. No, we do not have any law courses. Those would typically be found at university levels. So unfortunately, we do not have any law courses. But thank you for your question. Sometimes students ask me about the weather, so I'll maybe talk a little bit about that. Today is a beautiful summer day. It will probably reach 30 degrees, which is nice and warm. Not as warm as India, but pretty close. And also beautiful other seasons are spring and summer and fall and winter. Winter being a little bit colder than you could probably used to, but when you're prepared and you wear the right coat and hat and mittens, you will see that people adapt quite easily. Our houses are warm, our cars work well in the winter. So don't let that be a deterrent. It's one of the beauties of studying and being in Canada is embracing our 4 seasons. Let me see if we have any other questions. Okay, so Prabjot is asking, do you offer a work permit? I think your question is related to the postgraduate work permit. Yes, our programs are eligible for postgraduate work permit of up to 3 years. I have a 4-year study gap after 12, excuse me, in medical stream. So can I apply to Lester B? Excuse me, I need some water. So Vina, I think that gap is a little bit larger than when we normally take in. And the reason for needing a smaller gap is that this will enhance your chances of getting a study permit from our immigration. So I would really encourage you, Vina, to speak to, excuse me, one of your consultants at Radvision, and they can help you find the appropriate program. Samir is asking if our colleges are open now. Yes, they are. So of course, during the COVID time, we did close for a period of time, but now the government has reopened our schools. So students are actually studying right now in our colleges. We're respecting, of course, all the guidelines. Because our programs are practical and hands-on, it's important that students be in our laboratories learning. So we've put in measures, sanitary measures to make sure that everybody's safe, and our college is open and will continue to be, hopefully, should everything go in the right direction. Unfortunately, right now, our borders are still closed, but I can encourage you to continue applying because we know that Immigration Canada is looking to reopen those borders as soon as possible. Is it possible now admission due to COVID? For our September intake, we are starting to run out of seats, but it's still possible, September, October. But for sure, January, we're looking at multiple possibilities of intakes for January. I like your name, Migrating Birds. So yeah, so of course it's been difficult during the COVID time, but Canada has actually done a great job of controlling the disease, and people are generally safe here. Of course, we have to continue to be careful, and we're hoping that our borders will open up soon so that students can start arriving and studying in Canada. Just going to see if there's any other questions in the chat. And I thank you, by the way, for your participation. This is great. If I can't answer any questions right now, of course, the consultants at Radvision will be happy to answer your questions after this session. So if I could just recap quickly, you know, Canada's a big country. And although most students start looking at Toronto and Vancouver as a destination, Montreal is definitely an up-and-coming destination. Very affordable city to live in, very welcoming and diverse. Students really feel comfortable studying and living here. And because we're not too far from Ontario, there's always the possibility to visit friends and family should you have them in other provinces. The other important thing to consider is that our tuition is very, very affordable compared to other colleges in the rest of Canada. We are a public institution, so our diploma is issued directly by the Ministry of Education. So this is very important because you want to make sure that you've invested in an institution that's credible and that has a good, high-quality program, which is the case at Lester B. Pearson School Board. So if I don't have any other questions in the chat, which I think we don't, I'm going to wrap up our session. So as I mentioned, we would be so happy to welcome you as a student within our campuses. You would have a great experience in a diverse classroom where you would meet people from all over the world and living in a city that is really recognized for being beautiful and welcoming and just a great place to live. So I want to thank you for your attention and your participation today. I want to also thank again Radvision for inviting me to give you this information. I wish you much health, and I really hope that you know, the crisis goes by very quickly and that you'll be able to consider moving and traveling to Canada for your next journey in your life. So on this, I will bid you a good day and thank you again for your attention. All the best.